Good morning.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me okay without my earbuds?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Totally. You're always clear. Sorry, still going on.
Well, it's a good thing I pressed record right away
Oh, you didn't.
so we can get all the nose blowing and
Ugh.
snuffles.
Oh, now we need a song that says something about being only human. Hi.
Hello.
You always have the same view. No
I know.
matter what. Is that intentional?
Well, I'm sitting in, I found my place, right? Like I have, and if I turn it around and give the nice view to the outside, then the light hits the screen and I can't see it. So,
Yeah. Can you see me with the light shining through?
yep, looks good. You look homey. I like the painting in the background. Looks very,
Yeah,
very
that one's
beautiful. You did
mine.
that one, right?
Yeah, and that one's one of Jupiter's. Yeah, we have tons of painting. We have a display wall that's going up in here now.
Hmm. So a bit of a check-in. You want to have a little check-in?
Yeah, sure. You want to go
Please,
first?
please go. You go first.
Yeah. So check in, like just checking in how we are, and then setting the agenda kind of deal.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this last weekend, I thought that I was supposed to be writing the content for my website with Sarah, but that's this upcoming weekend. But regardless, I must have sent the intention out because I woke up, I think, 3 o'clock in the morning kind of deal with like a bunch of stuff. And I figured out the design of my logo, which is really cool. And now I realize why nobody else could ever design it, because it's going to take you to do it, because you're the only person that's gonna understand what the hell I'm saying.
Really?
Yeah. Um. Yeah, and I've just been kind of like really excited to get going. So like I set quarterly goals, and then I set at the because we were talking at the end of the year, I sit down and I do a vision board and I meditate and I say what I want to accomplish in that year and then the next 5-10 kind of deal. And then I do like quarterly. So I'm at the end of March, so I'm doing for May, June. And then I do like monthly, and then I do like daily, and then the daily always runs into the week kind of deal. So I've been doing that for quite a number of years. So just working on my next 3 months goals, and yeah, it's pretty exciting because it has to do with like getting back out and getting the interacting with clients and being in front of people and doing workshops, which is what I love to do most. And then the last week, I guess mostly like it's been dealing with like communication stuff, not just with clients, but with my son. And we're signing up to learn ASL, like American Sign Language, and kind of being spokespeople, like ambassadors for hearing impaired. Like there's a big difference between the deaf society and being hearing impaired, and there really isn't a lot of information available, at least to families in Saskatchewan, on hearing impaired and sort of like what that's like for kids to fit into a hearing world. And kind of like I've always been on my personal journey where I haven't sort of taken anybody else's word or authority over my own inner authority. We've been sort of doing that within the realm of the hearing impaired, if you want to even call it that. I don't think it's so much an impairment as it is a gift, but yet in terms of the way the world sees it, it's an impairment. And Jupiter and I just going through a lot of processing around what that might actually look like if the world thought of it as a gift, and what that looks like if we consider it a gift. And there's just such an inner peace that comes when you're connected to that internal motivation and that place. And you know, people that meditate try to get there, but I think people that are hearing impaired can vibrate at that frequency if we just stop looking at trying to get them focused externally instead of inwardly. And so there's been a lot going on around that, and he got beat up in a Z class, and it's there's ongoing kind of stuff like that we're dealing with. So yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
oh.
And so, we come from a place of compassion and nonviolence in our household, and dealing with that for a 13-year-old boy who is afraid to, and I would say he's afraid to be physical because he knows how, because of his hearing impairment, if you want to call it that. But it was really because he didn't have hearing, and then we put these hearing aids on, and then he was forced to reckon with and integrate into a hearing world with all this noise. Like, just even for instance yesterday, and I'll end with this, but even just yesterday we went to get them adjusted and some other auditory tests done, and when we came out they had readjusted his hearing aids, and they were so loud he couldn't even function. He was like, he was just walking around like this, like, it's just too loud, Mom. The wind, the traffic, it's just too loud. So we couldn't even go. We went into the restaurant for lunch, and he was like having a meltdown and breakdown and just crying. So we phoned, and we went back and we got them adjusted and turned down. But so he was forced to into that world. And I've read and researched as much as I can on hearing impaired families, and especially children, but just hearing impaired people in general react physically. They don't have the language, they don't have the words. It's not their first go-to. They do things, they react, or at least it looks like they react, but they're physical. And so he was very physical, and that kind of went to an extreme. So now the pendulum swung, and he's on the other side, and we're just talking about that and what it looks like resting in the middle, and how to actually be assertive instead of aggressive or passive. And we have a strong connection with the Saskatchewan Deaf and Hard of Hearing Services, particularly Maren Gillies in Saskatoon, who just is intuitively in the flow with us. And he actually handed Jupiter a sheet on a course that he just took 2 weeks ago on passive, aggressive, and assertive behavior and communication. And we were just talking about that and how to actually model that. And, when you're 13 and, the kid that nobody likes at a new school, I know there's stuff going on. It's just been an interesting time. And he already is, but he's going to turn into a really cool young man because of all these things that are happening for him. And and I told him yesterday, I said, because we're talking about career and future, and he's like, oh, there's so many opportunities and so many options, this is so exciting. And I said, well, one of them may be writing a book, and maybe we write a book together on how we use the inflow matrix to sort of like navigate our way through the world and put the world into perspective, and how I use that to teach him the construct of the world fundamentally. And so he could quickly have the information and put it there, especially hearing impaired, because it's visual. And he also, his brain also works differently. Like, so we organize the information in the inflow matrix, and we get to the point probably faster than any hearing people would, but definitely fast because he's got that model already in his brain, and he can just categorize information. So so he was really excited about the potential of even writing a book together about that. So that's pretty cool.
Amazing. So did he just get like the hearing aids before going into school kind of, and then he was in a classroom with this volume on, and all of a sudden he's in a fight because of it, or he doesn't?
No, no. It happened on Friday, and there's this rub between him and this other young man in town, and yeah, like it's not my business to disclose this, especially if
Gotcha.
this is going online. But I think that it's an opportunity for them both to heal, and that if we take radical responsibility over what's really happening for us, and I am encouraging Jupiter, my son, to do that, then he can see how he was the creator of these situations, and how what he has done has brought this about in his life. And it's timely that the night before this altercation, am I saying it correctly, took place, we made a map, and just a concept web map, about what he has the power to do. And the reality is that this has been happening a long time, but this other little guy does it so that he's not caught or it's not witnessed. And so, we've just been talking about just what the difference would be like if somebody witnessed it, and then he could sort of bring it forward to other people's attention and how to do that. And then the next morning, bam, right, there was just this rub. It just happened in phys ed class. It tends to happen when the sub is there in phys ed class, because this kid's able to get right into Jupiter's space, and Jupiter grabbed a ball and he turned around, and of course the kid, and I could see him putting himself there so that it does look like he's gonna get hurt, but he's also going for the ball at the same time, and Jupiter happened to get it. So he gave him one blow to the shoulder, to the temple, another one to the shoulder, and then another one to the rib. And of course, Jupiter's like, blah, right? And he said the first time that he did this, which was about 2 months ago, he threw this young man threw Jupiter like halfway across the gym, and this time Jupiter stood there and took it, and of course he cried and he had a meltdown, but he immediately went to call me, and then we got this principal got involved and stuff like that. And yeah, so it's against his rights, and to get him to stand up and say something about it is sort of our step today. And then there's other legal things that we can sort of do and teach him so that he understands that he has support in doing this. So anyways, that's sort of what's been going on in our world.
Wow.
To be a mom, it's been great.
Wow. To be 13 again. What a place of fear in schools. What is it, grade 7, grade 8, or grade 6?
Grade 7. It's a grade 7-8 mix.
Wow, what a time, because it's such a, the difference between 7s and 8s is like night and day. Like I think the myelin sheath, something happens physiologically, and it's kind of like they're not quite cool yet, and all of a sudden grade 8, now they're cool, and now they're a different species. Before then, they're kind of still a little bit left of a child left, but school. Well, my world's quite a bit different, but I think you maybe get quite excited about what I've been doing, and you and Laurie may be the only ones who are. Is get this. For the first time, I don't know, since I can remember, I spent all my time since sort of Friday just making digital maps, just with an Illustrator and just doing maps. And I did a series on the 4 quadrants. I did a series, not just one map, right? But just like piece by piece building the map. Like what you would have loved, 10 years ago or 5 years, whatever, right? To help you to explain this madness. And so piece by piece, each new part of the map put on there, so you don't get this overwhelming, here's the map, make sense of it thing. It's like piece by piece, we're adding it. So now in video or presentation form, you can stand there and go, now this, this. Do you get it? And then, and each by a different part, right? So I'm trying to, what are the fundamental parts? The four quadrants, time translator, and then going into the choice, flow, synergy, and harmony maps in a way that actually makes sense. So, creating, and it's unending. I mean, there's no end to the amount of maps that can be created and how many different parts. And it's an insanity, because I could spend the rest of my life with just maps, maybe just one, and just making more maps and not leaving my room. And basically, I didn't even talk to Dale. I didn't talk to, like, a little bit on the outside, but just focused on the computer, doing all the tedious little work that I never wanted to do.
Yay.
And it's amazing, because now it's such a missing ingredient, right? Like it's been impossible without it, and it's just an idea without it. But now there's something that you will be able to use. Oh, and also good news, there's a woman in Germany who is going to lead a team to create a value system app. And so the reason I got so excited was thinking that it would be used in an app. So I had to come up with, well, what's it going to look like? And then I couldn't stop, because it was like, well, it needs this. And so the whole software program is kind of coming out in a little bit of a way. And it ended with multiple worldviews looking through multiple harmony lenses. Like, imagine this. Like, it's kind of like humans are like all warring over worldviews, right? All these different worldviews are all having an interpretation of reality and then fighting about it. But what if we gave each worldview a function to our species?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like all the organs in our body are fighting, because the heart is trying to do the liver's work, or the intestine is trying to do the mouth, or whatever, right? Before we became a human body, all these different parts were trying to figure out who they were
And how they work together.
And then all of a sudden the body came about, and all of a sudden, I mean, not all of a sudden, this is, sure, it came about through some incredible way, but there wasn't a heart over in Cincinnati and then a brain over in Ottawa, and hey, let's get together in New York with all the other people. But essentially, that's what we're doing as a species, where all of these different parts are actually functions, but we don't know that. And so what this is a methodology for each worldview to look through one of the harmony lenses, so one of the community perspectives, and then taking that on as their particular function. It may not be their function, but it's the beginning of a game to find out, well, what is their function? And so, but what's funny is there's a whole bunch of sort of weird worldviews. Like I put in superheroes and Jedi Knights and the animals. Like the animals actually get a worldview, right? It's like, hey guys, you need to stop freaking killing all of us. And then there's, of course, the Luciferians and the Satanists. Got to bring them in just to, because they're never invited to the party, right? They're always in the dark places. So bring them on out. So it'll probably create, of course, complete mayhem. But it's fascinating, to be able to put a lens and a worldview, and then put a lens just to see what you're looking at on the net, right? Like at some point, there's going to be an interface where you will press and you will sort of contain yourself within a worldview, and then choose lenses to actually see what you're looking at. I don't know if that's a good idea, but
Well, it certainly gives people a reason to, or an opportunity to see things different than what they are. Back to the aggressor, passive, and assertive, right? So the aggressor on that chart that we had gotten from Naren, the aggressor was like, you know, everybody's got to see the world my way, and I'm not going to be willing to see the world in any other viewpoint, basically, right? And that's kind of what we have as an example for our children. So I'm dealing with a hearing impaired child who sees things the way that interprets things in a certain way, but he sees what is there. And so that's what he sees of the world, right?
Mm.
And we try to stay out of mainstream media, but that's still available to him. You know, movies, video games, so on and so forth, right? So yeah, I think what you're saying is not just relevant, but it's exciting. You know, to be able to see things through another lens is part of the magic of the Info Matrix. But to see the world through different world lenses is gonna be mind blowing in a sort of perspective way. It's funny that you even talked about that, because once you're finished, remind me, because I want to read you something, because this came up for me intuitively in the last 24 hours.
Okay. So we'll just end. This is just the check-in sort of part of our discussion. So I'll just end it.
Oh well,
And
I'll read this to you then before.
okay.
You end.
Okay. If you want to end this with this.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
So I'd written this, I don't know, based on something else I had heard somewhere, and then I'm erasing this board because I'm using it for my weekly to-do list, and so it says, "My world is slowly dying. When men, they go to war just to please, you need to say goodbye. No, I don't want to cry. It's time to stand. I'm not wasting no more time. I don't think that I can. I don't think that I can believe you. This is when I need to start taking a look at my outside, start taking a look outside my inner individual world and realign with what I think is right to get where I need you. Realign to reorganize what the outside of me looks like and aligns to my inner self." That was just like, you know, quick poetry written down in, you know, sort of on a whiteboard and scratched in there. But yeah, sort of intuitively, I kind of been sort of realizing this external worldview and having to realign and readjust. So, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Essentially, we can take the worldview and move it away from aggression and move it into being assertive and into a place of love. That's what we're here for, right? Bridging from the old paradigm into the new paradigm. We can't actually just recreate something. We can, but we still have to understand that we're part of that and we're transitioning. So, hallelujah, Elijah. Bye, everybody.